fact that Robert is such an entertaining speaker and so humorous today, and that he bombed out the first time he tried it, I think that gives everybody hope that you can improve and be as good as Robert someday. I will now go on to the next topic, which is table topics, which will be run by Mary Alice Richardson, who says about forgiveness. Forgiveness benefits both the forgiver and the forgiven, but it benefits the forgiver more. Mary Alice.
Thank you. Forgiveness has two aspects, spiritual and psychological. It frees up the spirit or the soul for higher things, and it frees the emotions from being trapped into obsessing about blame and resentment. Religions generally emphasize forgiveness. Apart from religions, it seems to be spiritually healthy to forgive, and that led me to think about spirituality itself. What is spirituality? My first question is for Leslie. Do you think that spirituality and religion are the same? And if not, what is spirituality? I would hasten to add that people are not obliged to address the question if they don't want to.
I think they're different. I think with religion, you're talking about an organized body of thought with leaders who are appointed and trained and a set of codified beliefs. And I think spirituality is something that's not necessarily a codified system of belief. I think it's something people feel internally, and that gives them a sense of not being alone, that gives them a sense of succor, of real support. And I think that you can be religious and not be spiritual, and spiritual and not be religious. But there's a story that I think indicates real spirituality. This happened during World War II at Auschwitz concentration camp. And when the Americans liberated the camp, they came across a guy who, unlike the other prisoners, looked bright and cheery, didn't look wasted, didn't look so traumatized he couldn't move. And I said, how come you're doing so well when everyone else is looking awful? And he said, when the Germans came for our family, they shot everybody and killed them. I was only 9. But something told me in that moment that if I didn't forgive these soldiers, I would be as dead as they were. And I didn't want to die spiritually. So I forgave them.
Thank you. I will call on some of our guests, and you may certainly say no if you don't want to come up here and answer the question or speak to something else. Alicia.
Yes.
Would you like to tell us about a spiritual or emotional experience you have had that meant a lot to you? Would you like to come up? All right.
Yeah, no, that's thanks.
Mary Alice, our guests also have the right to speak on any topic they want.
Absolutely.
So they can, you not only can defer and say no thank you, you can also change the subject and speak about what you want, or if you just want to stay in your chair, that's perfectly acceptable too.
Yes. Tom, how about you? Would you
Certainly.
like to speak to that question? A spiritual or emotional experience?
Great, thank you. My name's Tom Pavilon. I'm new here, but when the topic of forgiveness came up, the first thing I thought about was the book Unbroken, the story of Louis, I think it's Zamperini. It took me probably 15 minutes to get something close to his name out of my head. Is everybody in the room familiar with this? Louis was a World War II pilot who, before he joined the U.S. Army and war broke out, was a world-class distance runner. He became a pilot, was shot down over the Pacific, recovered by the Japanese, and interned for a very, very long period of time. I can't remember exactly how long. He was deeply abused by his captors. They found out who he was and they physically destroyed him. And I think somebody a little while ago said something about forgiveness being stronger for the forgiver than the forgivee. He had so much hate in him that he drew himself down, wasn't able to function once the war ended, because he actually spent all his time trying to figure out where his primary tormentor was in Japan. He actually went to Japan to find him, to kill him. When he got to, I think it was when he got to Japan, he decided that it wasn't worth it. It would be pointless to try and kill him. And he had something of an epiphany and decided to forgive him. And instead of trying to find him to kill him, he actually found him to forgive him. And he said it was the most powerful moment in his life, that moment where he forgave this person who was horrible, absolutely horrible to him. And it's interesting to see, at least for me, to see how powerful this was for him, and to try and recall moments or times in my own life when I've forgiven others, to try and recall the feeling that I had of being the forgiver as opposed to forgiving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Alice, that's all we have time for.